So it's this expression of sound that focuses not on melody necessarily, not on being appealing to everybody, but like pushing the boundaries.
But noise, I think, is like kind of a subjective term. It's something that you just don't like to listen to because it's noise. That's why the term like noise music is kind of funny, because music is the opposite of noise, I think, right?
I started making noise when I was a kid. I was 12, and I got into it just through, like my dad used to play guitar, and whenever he'd turn up the amplifier and the feedback would go, it really fascinated me. So I'd like sneak into his guitar case and like set it up when they were out and like turn the amplifier all the way up, and that kind of fascinated me.
My mom was really supportive of my noise making growing up. I don't ever remember her telling me to be quiet. So yeah, wooden blocks, pots and pans, rattles. That was probably my first instrument. It's the first time I like intentionally made noise was my first electric guitar.
I went to the No Music Festival. It's a big noise music festival in the city years ago, and that was kind of my introduction to that whole kind of scene. Started doing my own improvised shows myself, but playing with other people, forming a band called Exit 2012, and also going to two Nihilist Spasm Band rehearsals. Like every week I'd go and just see what they were doing.
You know the artist Jimi Hendrix? Yeah. So he was a guitar player. He played the national anthem for America. In the middle of it, he just like started making noise. I was like, what the fuck? And it kind of sounded like bombs dropping and crashing and screaming. And I was just like, this is amazing. So I pretty much immediately went and got my electric guitar and just started doing that and creating feedback intentionally, and was just really, really into it.
Yeah, making noise, like recording noise, is a totally different experience. And doing it live it's usually mostly improvised. I mean, sometimes I'll have like a rough idea of what I'm going to do beforehand, but when you're doing that kind of stuff live, it's really hard to do the same thing every single time. A lot of the stuff that I record, it's really hard to reproduce it live. It's a lot more exciting when it's improvised and just off the cuff. John Cage is like one of the greatest experimental composers in the history of music. He said that music is basically, the definition of music is the production of sound. So if you define it that way, like anything could be music.
As far as what I want to express with noise, I guess it's a way of just letting my I got definitely a weird side, and it's a good way of getting it out. And when I do it live, it's I guess an expression of just kind of free form creativity, I guess.
Pushing dissonance and decay, and those things are built into the technology. It's built into tape looping and even digital looping. As you loop something and repeat it to manipulate it in its raw format, it can, over time, decay. That's a lot of how tape echo works and how it becomes very interesting. Even when you play a loop digitally over and over and over again on a computer that's not supposed to make mistakes, it puts in these weird decay. You can take field recordings, you can take a guitar, you can take something and manipulate it just a little bit in just the raw wave patterns that you use and create tremendous ambience that people haven't heard. A lot of noise musicians then try to push, like, well, how high of a register are people going to be able to handle? How long can I make them listen to this loop? How much resonance can I get out of this tiny manipulation? How loud can it be? What are people going to be able to tolerate? The man who sums it up so well at the turn of the last century, Russolo, outside of Italy, and he wrote The Art of Noises. And what he describes, I think, really is what it comes down to. So it's both this, as I described, natural progression of people who seek sound and seek how you can bend sound and make sound and music more interesting. How do I get more tones? How do I hear different timbres, and how do I hear different textures in music? How can I do that? You know, it's easy to listen to things that sound nice together and go do 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 do. It's harder, and for a lot of people more interesting to hear ding ding down.
You can't really talk about noise music in London, Ontario without talking about the Nihilist Spasm Band. I think that they are definitely the first noise band. But as far as a group of people coming together and forming a band to perform noise the same way a group of people would come together to form a band to play like rock music, especially in like the mid-60s, I don't know of anyone else who was doing what they were doing.
Well, there was a large number of people who knew exactly what we were doing. We were being annoying. The thing is, we just start to play and find a place in the noise for ourselves. Sometimes you find that you really don't have to do anything. The rest of them are going along fine without you, and there's nothing you really need to do or want to do.
When you hear the word noise, do you think that the focus is on noise? The focus is on the improvisation and on the interaction between us. I'm not thinking, can I make the noisiest sound I can? I'm thinking about how I can interact with the other people here, and it gets called noise.
Their music is it's just sounds like noise to anybody, right? It's just chaos and stuff. But the more that you listen to it, the more that you pay attention, you notice that there's textural and there is like a conversation amongst them.
Jazz musicians have it sort of adopted us. We play with more than one. We put out a double CD with Joe McPhee, who is a bona fide sort of free jazz player.
It's a term that is not particularly helpful, except there isn't a regular tune, there isn't a regular rhythm, there isn't a standard sort of beginning, middle, and end structure. It just finds its own way along.
When you make noise, what do you hope to express? Yeah, what do you want to pass across to people?
That's a good question. For a long time, it was like kind of anger. Like it was like a personal release as well. I think that's the case for a lot of noise artists. I'm still frustrated at all the noise that's around me that I don't like. Advertising. I fucking hate advertising. I hate commercials. You know, maybe when I make noise music now, it's to like drown all that shit out.
I think noise is more like abstract and more like random, and music it's like the order of sounds put together.
Yeah, right. Totally. I agree with that. I guess that's another reason why I like making noise, is because it's so random, and I use like randomness and chance and chaos in a lot of my art, not just like the sound art that I make. You know, there's no order to it. It's great.